I will call to order the meeting of the Chautauqua County Legislature on May 24th. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Here.
Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mrs. Gustafson? Here. Thanks. Mr. Harmon.
Here.
Mr. Heiser.
Here.
Mr. Hemmer.
Here.
Mr. Muldowney.
Here.
Mr. Nelson.
Here.
Mr. Nebel.
Here.
Ms. Parker.
Here.
Mr. Pavlak is absent. Mr. Penhallow.
Here.
Mr. Proctor.
Here.
Mrs. Rankin.
Here.
Mr. Scudder.
Here.
Mr. Torres is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Here.
Chairman Shagnon.
Here.
There are 17 members present and 2 members absent. There is quorum.
Okay, at this time, we will have the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance by Legislator Davis.
Father God, I'm thankful to be living in a country, and more specifically a county, that allows for freedom of religion. It is our right, it is proper, and it is good for us to pause before you as our first action this evening. We recognize there is nothing that we can do apart from you. It is your grace, your love, and your mercy that sustain us. Grant us your wisdom as we consider the matters before us this evening. Help us to listen well and to legislate fairly. We ask that you extend your blessings upon the residents of Chautauqua County today and every day. I ask this in the name of your Son and my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, at the request of Legislator Pavlak, I would like to request a moment of silence for the passing of Supervisor Chase from the town of Charlotte. Thank you. Now we have on our agenda the approval of the minutes of the legislature meeting on April 26th. And I have a motion to approve by Legislator Bankowski, a second by Legislator Harmon. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That brings us to the first privilege of the floor. Members of the public may comment on any subject relating to any local law, resolution, or motion appearing on the agenda. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and comments representing a group shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to address the first privilege of the floor?
Excuse me, does that include communications on this list here?
Communications? Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'm referring to number 10 on page 1, the county executive letter from Mr. Wendell.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Anthony Toda, and I live at 144 Clifton Avenue in Jamestown, New York. I am basing my opinions on articles that appeared in the May 19, 2023 local newspaper. I agree with our county executives and other county executives' emergency declaration that supports Senator Barillo's position on illegal immigration. What has happened is that most types of media are using the words migrant and asylum seekers instead of illegals. Further, in one article is stated that social service funding is not available for people who are undocumented. While some people actually may seek asylum, there is no documented proof. Try going to Canada without proper papers and you will not cross their borders. Further, Governor Cuomo's 217 reported executive order and the reported New York City green light policies violate the U.S. Constitution and its federal statutes because such order and such policies threaten the sovereignty, safety, and the general welfare of U.S. citizens. The 10th Amendment, U.S. Constitution states, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people." There is a 10th Amendment violation here. Constitutional sovereignty is delegated to the federal government through its federal immigration statutes and not to the states. That makes state immigration actions unenforceable, illegal, null, and void. Governor Kathy Hochul's proposal to house illegals on SUNY campuses denies federal and state constitutional equal protection principles by free campus housing when New York State residents have to pay for this housing, and also makes Hochul's proposal discriminatory for New York State students. Senator Charles Schumer and Gillibrand, who are both complicit with these federal violations, are amazingly quiet. I believe they're waiting for Joe Biden to come along with emergency funding, then jump on the bandwagon to solve everybody's problem. 2 days ago, Jamestown Mayor Eddie Sundquist stated that monies will be coming to Jamestown, but did not say for what. Are these violations of the U.S. Constitution with its statutes, which are designed to protect American citizens, going to protect us? It is time to cease this threatening and illegal activity for all involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address the first privilege of the floor? Seeing no one. Olivia?
There are no veto messages from County Executive Wendell from the April 26, 2023 meeting.
Okay, next on our agenda is a commendation. So I will invite the county executive down, and Kathleen Dennison, please join us. Okay. This is a letter of commendation. Whereas Kathleen Dennison began her career with Chautauqua County in 2011 as a principal account clerk for the Chautauqua County Office of the Sheriff, and whereas over the next 3 years, she advanced in the department serving as an accounting supervisor, and whereas she was promoted to budget director on February 2017, and whereas as chief budgetary advisor for the county, she was responsible for the formulation of policies, procedures, and methods for the preparation and administration of annual budgets, as well as the direct dealings with department heads during budget preparation. And whereas she has helped grow Chautauqua County's general fund balance to approximately $34.14 million, hold the applause, in accordance with the county's financial management plan, and whereas she was a member of the Chautauqua County American Rescue Plan Act Working Group and helped develop and implement Chautauqua County's plan to spend ARPA monies through the creation of 66 ARPA projects, and whereas during her tenure, she has provided strong leadership to uphold the department's commitment to providing sound budgetary advice and support to the county executive, county legislature, and all county departments.
And whereas it is through her thoughtful, calm nature that Mrs. Dennison has provided a wonderful steadying influence to all aspects of county government. And whereas on June 2nd of 2023, Kathleen will be retiring from Chautauqua County government. And whereas throughout Kathleen's exemplary service over the past 11 years, she has worked tirelessly to improve Chautauqua County's financial position and the ability to provide all necessary service to Chautauqua County residents, while also safeguarding the county against any future financial uncertainties. Now, therefore, we, Paul M. Wendell Jr., Chautauqua County Executive, and Pierre E. Chagnon, Chairman of the Chautauqua County Legislature, do hereby recognize and thank Kathleen for her outstanding accomplishments and endless contributions in making Chautauqua County a better place to live, work, visit, and raise a family. In witness whereof, we have hereto set our hands and caused the seal of the great county of Chautauqua to be affixed on this 24th day of May, 2023, signed by myself, Paul M. Wendell Jr., and Pierre E. Chagnon, Chairman of the Chautauqua County Legislature. Congratulations.
One of my favorite things about being the budget director is that I got to work with all of the county department heads, and I learned a lot. I learned about things that I never knew anything about, like wastewater treatment and garbage management and building roads and bridges and salt. Learned a lot about salt. And disaster mitigation and disaster response and a whole host of social services. And as I said, that was very enriching for me. But I also, in working with all the department heads, I think I formed a lot of good partnerships because we together, we managed all of their businesses. Each of those departments really is its own business within the county. And as PJ and Pierre have often commented, when you put all of those businesses together, Chautauqua County is really a very impressive and complex business. And it takes a lot of people working together to run that business. And as I said, I think starting with the department heads, they focused on what they do best. And I added what I do well, and that is the financial management. And together we achieve financial successes in their departments. And we have also achieved financial success as a county over the last few years. And that's not only a testament to me and the department heads, but it's a testament to all of my colleagues in the finance department. It's a testament to the county executives with whom I have worked, all three of them, and to the legislature as well. So I am very proud to have contributed to the success of the financial situation of the county, and I thank you for that opportunity.
I just would like to take a brief moment. And, you know, when I took office as county executive, you walk in and a lot of daunting things happen, but what's looming is that 6-inch binder that says county budget. And I would stay up like, how am I going to get this all done? And Kathleen came in and Kitty said, don't worry, we'll take care of that. And each year was like a little bit of Christmas in August when they would say, this is the tax rate. And it was low. The first time I came in, it was 10 cents lower than the year before. And the next year was 41 cents. The next year was 36. We lowered taxes 71 cents in the last 2 years. Each day was like a little bit of Christmas every time. You know, she went, I really, and they weren't joking. It was great numbers and great news to hear. So thank you, really, truthfully, Kathleen, for all you've done. And I know the legislatures will share in the same sentiment. Anytime anyone has had a question, rarely have you said, I don't know, or has it taken more than a few minutes or maybe a day before you got back with the correct answers, and always have kept us in great sound financial position. So again, on behalf of myself and the residents, thank you so much for all you've done, and enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
And I want to assure everyone that I tried to rescind her retirement, but I was unsuccessful. Okay.
There are 10 communications listed on the agenda. Are there any items you wish to have read aloud? Please contact our office if you'd like a copy of any of these items. Local Law Introductory 6-23, a local law amending Local Law 13-22, providing for a management salary plan for county officers and employees regarding payroll manager for the Department of Finance.
Are there any questions or comments on the local law? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker, Mr. Pavlock is absent, Mr. Penhollow,
Yes.
Mr. Proctor, Mrs. Rankin, Mr. Scudder, Mr. Torres is absent, Ms. Vanstrom, Mr. Wilfong,
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 17 yes votes and 2 absent. The local law is adopted. Resolution 141-23, confirm appointments, Portland Pomfret Dunkirk Sewer District Board.
Are there any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
142-23, confirm appointments, Chautauqua County Emergency Medical Services Council.
Are there any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
143-23, confirm appointments, Chautauqua County Board of Health.
Any questions, any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
144-23, calling a public hearing pursuant to County Law 268 upon a proposal to reduce infiltration and inflow in the North Chautauqua Lake Sewer District.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
145-23, confirming user charges, South and Center Chautauqua Lake Sewer Districts.
Any comments, any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
146-23, amend 2023 budget to implement the new courthouse roof replacement project using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
147-23, amend 2023 budget to implement the purchase of Buildings and Grounds Equipment Project using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Any questions, any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
148-23, designate Chautauqua County as lead agency responsible for State Environmental Quality Review, SEQR, for the obstruction mitigation and easement acquisition project at Chautauqua County Airport, Jamestown.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
149-23, supporting passage of A6581A and S6626, an act to amend Chapter 405 of the laws of 2007, amending the tax law relating to increasing hotel/motel taxes in Chautauqua County in relation to extending the expiration of such provisions, to repeal certain provisions of the tax law relating thereto, and providing for the repeal of certain provisions upon expiration thereof.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Legislator Parker.
Thank you, Chairman. I am making a motion to make an amendment to that resolution. I support the extension of the 5% occupancy tax, and I support removing the strict expenditure requirements proposed by Assemblyman Goodell and Senator Borrello. This amendment will allow the county legislature to allocate occupancy tax money at its discretion, as I think it should at that level, without the dictate of New York State. This amendment is on everyone's desk table, so I don't have to read it, do I? Or do you want me to read it?
No, that's fine.
Okay. So I'm making a motion to amend it as is indicated on the amendment that is before you related to this resolution.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend by Legislator Parker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Legislator Bankowski. Any discussion on the motion to amend the resolution? Any,
Mr. Chairman, my one thought on this was that last month we just allocated a lot of money to the Jefferson project to go into a study on how to spend or how to address the algae bloom issue in the lake. And I think that by narrowing ourselves down to that we need to spend this amount of money and maybe more money or less money or whatever, I just think that we're locking ourselves into that. If we amend the budget or amend the resolution as Ms. Parker suggested, it leaves the legislature some leeway on how to move forward with the recommendations of the Jefferson project that we all agreed on, that we would adhere to their recommendations.
okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions on the motion to amend the resolution? Yes, Legislator Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ever since this was first put into place with the occupancy tax by Bill Parment, the state has had a say in how this money was spent and what the percentages were. This is not unusual for them to do that, and the state absolutely has the right to suggest how this money is spent. It's without them and without this support, we would not have the occupancy tax. It's just like the fact that if we want to increase our sales tax by 1%, we have to have the state support. So I do not agree with this amendment. I think that it still leaves, when you get the percents of the money and you divvy it up, the state or the county still has the discretion to spend the money that's left in the way that they see fit. But what it takes is prioritization of how it's going to go, and that may be part of the problem with this. But I think that it's good the way it stands, and I will not support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the motion to amend? Legislator Scudder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 3 points that I'd like to state here. First of all, I'm okay with the conditions set forth in the resolution as presented. Secondly, we are already following, in general, the guidelines being set in the resolution. It was reported to us that the spending was pretty much in line with what this was asking for. And third, and this is with all due respect, I feel like some of the motivation for this amendment is political theater. For those reasons, I will be voting against amending the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the motion to amend? Legislator Nebel.
Mr. Chairman, I think that the key thing here for me is that our state representative has indicated that there is not time to make a change to the resolution. So therefore, I'll be voting against the amendment this evening.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the motion to amend? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on the motion to amend?
Mr. Binkowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
No.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
No.
Mr. Heiser.
No.
Mr. Hemmer.
No.
Mr. Muldowney.
No.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
No.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlik is absent. Mr. Penhallow. Mr. Proctor.
No.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder. Mr. Torres is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
No.
Chairman Shagnon.
No.
Okay, there are 3 yes votes, 14 no votes, and 2 absent. The motion to amend fails.
Okay, now on to the motion as originally presented. Is there any discussion, any questions or comments on the motion, on the resolution as presented? Legislator Parker?
Yes, I would just like to say that I feel that I must vote for it because we do want the 5% occupancy tax. I did in fact think that the amendment was the right way to go. I don't make my decisions based on political theater. But I will be voting for this amendment. Thank you. Or voting for this resolution.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson.
Yes.
Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlik is absent. Mr. Penhollow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Mr. Torres is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 17 yes votes and 2 absent. The resolution is adopted. (150-23) supporting passage of A6692 and S6206, an act to amend the tax law in relation to extending the authorization for Chautauqua County to impose an additional 1% rate of sales and compensating use taxes.
Are there any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlik is absent. Mr. Hemmer. Sorry. Mr. Penhollow. Mr. Proctor. Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder. Mr. Torres is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 17 yes votes and 2 absent. The resolution is adopted. (151-23) authorize agreement with various school districts for school resource officer services 2023 through 2024.
Are there any questions or comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
152-23 amend 2023 budget to implement the UTV Tracked Emergency Response Vehicle Project using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Any comments? Any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
153-23 amend 2023 budget to implement the Class B foam project for county fire departments using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
154-23 amend 2023 budget to implement the dive truck replacement project using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Any comments? Any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
155-23 amend 2023 budget to implement the Building Emergency Alert System project using funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA.
Any questions? Any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
156-23 to accept New York State Department of Health Strengthening Infrastructure Workforce and Data Systems Grant.
Any comments on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
157-23 to authorize Chautauqua County Health Department mobile health vehicles agreement with Chautauqua County municipalities and other governmental entities.
Any discussion, any comments on the resolution? Legislator Rankin.
It's a great opportunity for the county health department to reach out to underserved populations or areas of the county to provide some services that they desperately need with the health department. So we're looking forward to being able to market these programs and the mobile health vehicle. And I commend the county health department for getting this going. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you. Any other comments, questions on the resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
158-23, amend 2023 adopted budget due to office relocations in the city of Dunkirk.
Any questions, any comments on the resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
159-23, amend 2023 budget to accommodate acquisition of nearshore cleanup equipment.
Are there any questions or any comments on the resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
160-23, authorizing public hearing regarding a potential application for 2023 Community Development Block Grant funding through the New York State Office of Community Renewal and the uses of said funding.
Are there any comments or any questions on the resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to block 161-23 through 167-23.
Okay, we have a motion by Legislator Bankowski and a second by Legislator Harmon to block. Are there any discussion on the motion to block resolutions 161 through 167? Hearing none. All those in favor of blocking, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? They are blocked.
161-23, accept State Environmental Quality Review SEQR determination for the New York State Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Cherry Creek Snowgoers, Inc. Trail C1 GPS update. 162-23, accept State Environmental Quality Review SEQR determination for the New York State Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Ellery Snow Cruisers, Inc. Trail C4A GPS update. 163-23, accept State Environmental Quality Review determination for New York State Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Chautauqua Lake Snowmobile Club, Inc. Trail C4B GPS update. 164-23, accept State Environmental Quality Review determination for New York State Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Cherry Creek Snowgoers, Inc. Trail S12 GPS update. 165-23, accept State Environmental Quality Review determination for New York State Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Cherry Creek Snowgoers, Inc. Trail S11A GPS correction. 166-23, accept State Environmental Quality Review determination for New York State Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Cherry Creek Snowgoers, Inc. Trail C4 GPS update. 167-23, accept State Environmental Quality Review determination for the New York State Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid Program for Cherry Creek Snowgoers, Inc. Trail C1A GPS update.
Are there any questions or comments on any of the 7 blocked resolutions? Legislator Rankin.
I just want to thank everybody who's worked so hard on the snowmobile trails. Just an acknowledgement of what the snowmobile clubs and these trails do for the local economy during the winter. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on any of the blocked resolutions? Hearing none. All those in favor of the 7 blocked resolutions, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? They are all carried.
168-23, confirm reappointment, Director of Human Resources.
Any comments? Any questions on the resolution? Hearing none. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon. Mr. Heiser. Mr. Hemmer. Mr. Muldowney. Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nebel. Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlock is absent. Mr. Penhallow. Mr. Proctor. Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder. Mr. Torres is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong. Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 17 yes votes and 2 absent. The resolution is adopted.
A well-deserved unanimous confirmation, Debbie. Thank you. (169-23) Amend 2023 budget for Chief Medical Officer. Are there any comments or questions on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Carried.
170-23 Setting salary for internship positions.
Are there any comments or are there any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bankowski. Mr. Davis. Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon. Mr. Heiser. Mr. Hemmer. Mr. Muldowney. Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nebel. Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlock is absent. Mr. Penhallow. Mr. Proctor. Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder. Mr. Torres is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong. Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 17 yes votes and 2 absent. The resolution is adopted. The first motion on the agenda has received the required amount of signatures to bring to the floor. Motion A, proclaiming May Older Americans Month.
Are there any comments or any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Motion B on the agenda has received the required amount of signatures to bring to the floor. Motion B, support of Essential Caregivers Act.
Are there any comments or any questions on the resolution? Legislator Parker on the motion, I'm sorry, Legislator Parker.
In reading the motion, it says here, whereas the bill, first of all, I haven't seen the bill from Congressman Claudia Tenney, so without seeing it, I can't vote on it. Whereas the bill, but it says here, whereas the bill allowed essential caregivers access to long-term care facilities to provide care and support to a facility resident during any public health emergency. And I, as a nurse, as a registered nurse, there can be no public health emergency. There can't be an absolute 100% any health emergency provision for caregivers to be allowed in a healthcare facility. So on that basis, I am voting against it. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Legislator Parker and Legislator Nelson. Okay. It is adopted.
The motion C on the agenda has received the required amount of signatures to bring to the floor. Motion C, proclaiming June 19th, 2023 as Juneteenth in Chautauqua County.
Are there any questions, any comments on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Motion D on the agenda has received the required amount of signatures to bring to the floor. Motion D, opposing waste disposal surcharges and requesting an exemption for planning units.
Are there any comments or any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Legislator Nebel.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to introduce an emergency motion. The title of the motion is a motion in support of Chautauqua County's declaration of a state of emergency.
Okay, we have a request for an emergency motion to be introduced to the floor. Is there a second? Legislator Bankowski gives a second to the motion to introduce the emergency resolution to the floor. At this time, we will have a discussion on whether the body is in favor of accepting an emergency motion to the floor to be discussed and voted upon. So is there any discussion on the motion to bring the emergency motion to the floor?
Mr. Chairman. The reason this motion is needed is that things are moving quite rapidly within New York State. Every day we read about more illegal immigrants being relocated to upstate counties. The problem with this is that if some of these folks are relocated to Chautauqua County, we're just not adequately equipped to take care of 500 or perhaps 1,000 new immigrants. In my opinion, the legislature needs to support the county executive's declaration of a state of emergency, and this is the reason for the motion.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. Is there any other discussion on the request to bring an emergency motion to the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor of bringing the emergency motion to the floor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is on the floor. Legislator Nebel, would you like to discuss your proposed motion any further?
Just that, Mr. Chairman, I think that all of us here are compassionate. We feel for people that have less than we do. But at the same time, we're legislators. We have to protect the people here in Chautauqua County. We have veterans, we have disabled persons, we even have homeless persons. And I think we need to be concerned about the services that we provide to these folks as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the motion that's on the floor? Legislator Rankin.
Like Legislator Nebel said, people here all are compassionate and have an understanding of the need. And I know that, for example, in the city of Jamestown, Father Luke and St. Luke's Church have worked really hard to try to help all the migrants. And I look at all the great work they're doing to provide them language studies and supplies for their homes. And there are a lot of other agencies that are working hard. What I would hate to see is that we continue to bring people into the point where we leave them hanging in the wind and we can't take care of them. That would be the worst thing, is that come here to Chautauqua County and then we don't have the services for them. That would break my heart. So we have to be careful about that. That's my biggest concern, on top of the fact that we do have people who are not getting the services they need. But don't invite somebody in if you can't take care of them.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Legislator Parker.
Yeah, I would just like to say, I spoke to the county executive the other day, and I know he's been working very hard, communicating with the White House, communicating with the state, with the mayor of New York City, been in a lot of meetings, and I know that he has to represent the county's best interests, as do the legislators. But I find this motion, the language of the motion, and also the provision where it sounds like we're talking about not, it's sort of like prohibiting anyone from coming here. We need to understand that those 70 asylum seekers who came here did not come here. They were not sent here from New York City. They came on their own. I think that Governor Hochul and Mayor Adams called for expedited work authorization. I think that we really, in Chautauqua County, and as many other counties have decided, we need to slow this process down in order to, as Legislator Rankin said, to allow, we have to have the infrastructure and all of the services, and we can't, can't bankrupt the county in the process. But my belief is that the ultimate goal could indeed be to allow, with the infrastructure, these people are coming, they're eager to work, they want to work, they're in search of work, and we need workers. Many of them are skilled workers. I think it should be completely slowed down, but I don't think that there is a really constructive discussion going on when you completely close the door. I do understand that this state of emergency, I believe, lasts for 30 days and can be renewed. And I'm in favor of some of that delay to make sure there is the infrastructure. But I can't support this based on these other factors I mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Nelson.
Mr. Chairman, this motion, I believe, sends the wrong message, but the message is not new. We've had anti-immigrant attitudes and legislation since even before the country was established. 10 years before the Declaration of Independence was signed, Ben Franklin was warning us of the German immigration problem here. In the 1840s, there were signs in store windows and businesses that said N-I-N-A, Nina, no Irish need apply. In 1882, we passed the Chinese Exclusion Act. Just after they finished building the western portion of the Transcontinental Railroad, we decided that these people who were hardworking and peaceful were now dangerous, and we had to stop allowing them into the country. In the 1920s, 21, 24, we passed the Emergency Quota Act, which drastically limited the number of immigrants from Southern and Eastern Europe, Italy, Greece, Turkey, Poland. In 1929, we passed the National Origins Act, which further limited immigrants from Southern and Eastern Europe and Asia. All of this should seem somewhat ironic because we are a nation of immigrants, and I would bet most of us have immigrant, ancestors that probably came through Ellis Island. 4 out of 10 Americans can trace one ancestor through Ellis Island, right next to one of our most important national symbols, which is the Statue of Liberty. I bring this up just because I can't support this, but if nothing else, I hope you think about how history will judge this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Legislator Rankin.
Listening to Legislator Nelson, I think about the fact that my parents came through Ellis Island from Sweden, and the Swedes were not welcome even when they came, and they were discriminated against. But what happened was there were communities of people that welcomed them and helped them. And I think that the same with the Italians in Jamestown and a lot of the other communities. And I think that what's hard is that we've lost that sense of community in a lot of different areas. And so when we see I know I keep mentioning St. Luke's, and I know there are other places around that are trying to develop a sense of community, that the problem is when you feel like the government is sending these people and they're not giving us support. I mean, part of the problem is we'd love to see the funding come from the state and from the government, from the federal government, to say, we want these, here's some funding. You help these immigrants. You help these migrants. You help these asylum seekers. We're going to give you the money for it. And that may not necessarily be possible. So, I mean, I'd like to see more grassroots movements and communities come up and say, we're a community that's going to welcome you. So I'm torn about this because I think as far as putting a strain and a drain on our local resources is really difficult. So you just never know, though, whether this passes or not. I'd like to see more people step up community-wise and say, let's help these people, because somehow or other they're going to be contributing to our society and they will help tell the future of what our community is all about.
Thank you. Legislator Nebel.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the history lesson that was given a little while ago. But look, we're a nation of legal immigrants. What we're talking about here is illegal immigrants that for the most part went to New York City, a sanctuary city. In New York City is now trying to relocate these people in upstate counties. And the fact of the matter is that we're just not set up. We can't provide the services to adequately take care of these folks. In the comment that was made earlier that these people are coming here to work, that may be true, but legally they cannot work. They cannot even collect Medicaid. So eventually, the services that are going to have to be provided to these folks are going to have to be provided by Chautauqua County and our taxpayers. And that's why we need to support the county executive's declaration of a state of emergency. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments on the motion? Legislator Wilfong.
You know, I'm 100% against letting illegal aliens even come into this country. When veterans who supported our country sleep on the streets. Have you ever been to the VA hospital in Buffalo? We have funding for that. We have funding for illegal aliens. Where's the funding for our old soldiers when they get old and they get tired and have to go to nursing homes? I don't know if you've ever been there. You should stop in and see it sometime. It's pathetic. We have people sleeping on the streets who fought for this country, but we open the door and bring all of these people in. I'm 100% against it, and I always will be. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, discussion on the motion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on the motion?
Mr. Bankowski.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mrs. Gustafson. Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Mr. Heiser.
Yes.
Mr. Hemmer.
Yes.
Mr. Muldowney.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
No.
Mr. Nebel.
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Mr. Pavlock is absent. Mr. Penhallow.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor.
Yes.
Mrs. Rankin. Mr. Scudder.
Yes.
Mr. Torres is absent. Ms. Vanstrom. Mr. Wilfong.
Yes.
Chairman Shagnon.
Yes.
There are 15 yes votes, 2 no votes, and 2 absent. The motion passes.
Okay, that brings us to announcements on the agenda. Are there any legislators who have any announcements to share? Legislator Bankowski.
Yes, sir. On behalf of myself and Legislator Muldowney, we'd like you to welcome you down to Dunkirk's Memorial Park on Monday, 10 o'clock for our annual Memorial Day service. And basically a salute to our veterans, and then stay upon and enjoy our Memorial Day parade.
Thank you. Legislator Harmon.
June 3rd, Village of Silver Creek and the Kiwanis Club of Silver Creek are hosting it's a children's fair. It runs, the hours are between 10 and 2. There are bounce houses, vendors, hot dogs. It's a great day. It's a great day, and a very inexpensive day for a lot of family fun. So it's June 3rd.
Thank you. Legislator Vanstrom.
I'd just like to invite everybody to Jamestown Veterans Park on Saturday at 10 a.m. It's going to be hosted by the Gold Star Mothers, and it's a memorial event. They're going to have some very sentimental and important messages to share to keep us in check with why America is the greatest country in the entire world.
Thank you. Legislator Wilfong.
We'd like to bring everybody down for June and July to the Jamestown Tarp Skunk Games. Reserve seats are $14, grandstand $9, and bleachers are $6. Opening night will be June 1st. It's going to be a free tailgate concert. There's also opportunities for food, and it is a family-friendly event. That's both June and July.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Hearing none, and we will proceed to the second privilege of the floor. Members of the public may comment on any subject. A member of the legislature may speak on any subject. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, and comments representing a group shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
Good evening. My name is Susan Baldwin, and I live in Villanova. And I've been here a few times before. Last time I was here a couple months ago, I showed you this sign. This is up at my house because my water has been poisoned by directional drilling and dynamite. Now I see right out a living room window, big window, a giant 600-foot turbine. It isn't turning yet, but sure does take every single corner of my window when I look. But I'd like to also point out that I have organized a class action lawsuit against Northland Power, Ball Hill Wind, the representatives of Villanova. Because on May 11th, 2022, there was a dynamite-like explosion on Bentley Hill Road. Several fire trucks showed up. I do believe I'd mentioned this to you last time. And they also sent 5 fire trucks to my house, just in case I wanted to complain later about it. I had no fire. But that was really wrong of them to take 5 trucks from a real fire to send them to my house. I asked who did it. They said, false alarm. We don't know. So I have to do a freedom of information thing. Anyways, what I really wanted to tell you was there's 661 people affected in the town of South Dayton. Now, this Village of South Dayton letter has been sent to tell everyone in town that there's excessive amounts of iron and manganese. I had actually tested that water and sent it to the EPA because I own a house right in that village also, and it was full of strontium, chromium, barium, lead, arsenic, all these chemicals that are in fracking water, and that is what they've done on Bentley Road, and that is also under a FOIL. But the lawyer said we could get a lot of money from the gas and oil industry because they don't want to let anyone know that they're actually using permits. Oh, I've got several permit pictures and construction pictures that I've also turned over to the lawyer. So wish me luck. I might be a millionaire. Have a great day, but I'll be a sick millionaire because I drank my water. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
I'm Doug Champ. I live 225 Bowen Street. I don't know how many times I've been in front of this legislature. Some of you are old and new, but that's okay because this is old folks' myth. And I'm an old folk, so you have to listen to what I have to say. I'm here tonight to give a brief chemistry lesson. I was trained as an environmental biologist with a lot of engineering. That doesn't make me any better than anybody here. It just makes me able to understand how things work and what happens when they don't. There's a book out, and I want Pierre Chagnon, with his immense wealth and philanthropic ability, to buy this book for all the legislators. It's called The Devil's Element. What is the devil's element? Phosphorus. Number 15 on the periodic table. But phosphorus isn't the problem. It's the problem is what phosphorus becomes. Now, I'm going to hand out, if I may, exhibits.
These are three types of fertilizer. You can feel them and you can smell them, and you tell me out of which one do you think had more phosphorus in it? The issue at hand, you recently awarded, and justifiably so, I hope, to Chautauqua Institution $1 million to study our lake. Well, I grew up on the lake some 77 years ago, and I studied it, became enamored by what was in it and how it all worked. The issue, though, is not about more data. The issue is phosphorus and its conversions to phosphates. How does that happen? Many ways. It happens because that particular element is both diabolical and absolutely necessary for life on this planet. You are made up of phosphorus. All the mammals, all the plants, and then when they die, they become elementary phosphorus. And that's why Bone Alley in Florida is the greatest unknown reservoir of phosphorus. All the mammals that were on that peninsula that turned into Florida are harvested, and it's made into fertilizer. In reality, the United States is running out of phosphorus. This book will tell you that. By the end of the century or before, Morocco will control 80% of all phosphorus in the world. Why? It's in the Sahara Desert. All that little particular matter blows all over the world. Some good, some bad. But my point is this. Those items I gave you are all made up of phosphorus. The worst one.
Doug, you've exceeded your 3 minutes.
Well,
Please
you
wrap it
see,
up.
I know, but you guys always tell people to stop talking, and I will meet with anyone here to explain that you need to know more about what you're doing. 3 minutes is not enough, but there's no convey way to sit up here and talk. This is about all of you and all your children.
Okay, Doug, that's enough.
So, this book, The Devil's Element,
Thank you.
done by Dan Egan, who also wrote The Life and Death of Great American Great Lakes, who talked at Chautauqua 2 years ago. You gotta get educated. You're gonna make this.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
Jim Quattrone, Chautauqua County Sheriff. Two things. First of all, I just want to comment and thank you all for voting in favor of the school resource officers. I want to point out it's a valuable resource we have, and we focus on the word resource. But the recent article that says we denied a school, I wanted to point out, not because of staffing, but because of adequate staffing and because of appropriate staffing. We have the proper amount of deputies for patrol, but we don't have deputies that have an interest in working in the school or have the time on the job and the experience to go into the school because it's such a valuable spot. We don't want to put a brand new deputy in there. So I just wanted to, again, thank you for that and make sure that the legislator knows we appreciate the staffing we have on the road. Well, we're still searching for corrections officers, but that's not your fault. That's community's fault, I guess. Better news, I did want to thank Dr. Folk and his team from the Department of Health and our nursing staff. For those of you who don't know, the medical staff in our jail, whether it's medical, the nurses, the mental health provided by Departmental Hygiene in the Department of Health. We recently, beginning of May, got notified that we received a state accreditation through the National Commission on Correctional Health Care. This is a huge undertaking. We're one of under 5 counties in New York State that have that accreditation. And that is really a big lift. I had suggested it along with Christine Schuyler. That goes to, and I have to say, something I suggested and I stepped back and watched all the hard work being done. So thanks to Dr. Folk, but Kathy Burgess, the RN, as well as Allison Espin and their staff in the jail worked, as well as the mental health staff, worked tirelessly to get this accreditation, and they really did it in record time. So credit to them, and please extend your thanks to all those group that really provide an awesome service. Sometimes I wish I could go to some of the staff in the jail for my medical services. Dr. Munir, I love you, but we have a great service in the jail that's provided to our incarcerated individuals. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor?
Anthony Toto, 144 Clifton Avenue, Jamestown, New York. And I'm just wondering if I can continue speaking concerning this the immigration issue we're having.
You can speak on any subject, Anthony.
First of all, if you're a Democrat, there's going to be people that are crossing the borders due to Democratic policies, and those people obviously are going to vote Democrat. So what we're doing here concerning immigration is to load up the Democratic Party and stop the two-party system in this country. And that's a reality people need to think about. Secondly, why weren't the people vetted when they got off the bus in New York City? New York City has been a historical immigration hub, as everybody's talking about, Ellis Island, which required vetting and required constitutional law so people could go through the process of becoming a citizen. Now, why would people suppose, and why the Constitution promotes this type of law and these types of procedures? To prevent invasions, to prevent white slavery that we're going through on the border, to prevent the massive amount of fentanyl that's crossing the border along with these immigrants, and to prevent criminals that are crossing the border. Now, everybody talks about the crime or the drug issue we have in this country today, but does anybody consider or willing to say what the cause of that drug issue today, why it is higher under this administration, the Biden administration, than it was under the Trump administration? Those things are realities. Those are facts. People are flooding across the border illegally, bringing drugs in illegally, and it's the responsibility lies with the Democratic principles, policies, the Biden administration, senators of our own state who are allowing this to happen. Now, we have a socialist system that's being promoted that needs to stop, because eventually we're going to run out of money. Look at what the Biden administration's done to the national debt. So we run out of money, and who's going to pay for all this? We had this problem under Andrew Cuomo with Medicare when he was, I believe, some ridiculous amount of figure in the hole prior to the virus hitting, and magically the state recovered from that. So there's some terrible issues here. None of them are legal. None of them are constitutional, and none of them protects the rights of our citizenship that our forefathers died for. The sovereignty of this country, protection from invasion, individual rights, and not a burden on citizens to pay for people who should not be coming, who are being brought here through extortionists, giving their own money up. And maybe some of that money should be considered being paid to Democrats in the Senate and the House to leave the door open. That's something that should be considered. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Ben Shank, French Creek Township. This whole emergency thing can be broken down to the bedrock of our foundation, or of our society, our families. We care about our children and the welfare of our families. And when somebody barges into your home and demands that you take care of them, you have a responsibility to your family. You have a responsibility to your citizens. So, saying that, my next, a nicer or a safer, nicer America, or a free America? Which do you want? A safer, nicer America or a free America? We can't have both with Jesus Christ crowned King. A safer, nicer America where we cherish safety and niceness above Jesus is an America that is controlled by regulation, where the common sense God has created us with is no longer necessary, where God is no longer necessary. He's replaced by the state telling us what we can and cannot do, slavery to the state, unending new regulations, freedoms lost. We are witnessing the end game of a safer, nicer America that does not hold Jesus as king. To me, it is very troubling. All common sense is gone. A people looking to the state for answers, willingly surrendering freedom, not knowing that the answers to our problems are found only in Jesus Christ. We all long for safety, and we desire people to be nice to one another. This is a good part of the nature God created us with. But where do we find it? We find it by faith in Jesus. Like a mother hen protecting her chicks, safety and niceness come through God's protecting wings. Our founding fathers wrote that America and her freedoms will no longer exist if we reject Jesus Christ and disregard and disdain the teachings from the scriptures. They have entrusted a beautiful system of government that honors Jesus Christ to us, this generation, that enables every man to be free as his creator intended him to be. But past generations have let freedom wane. What do? Our loving God allows judgment to fall on us when the decisions we make fall contrary to his nature. The scriptures teach us his nature. We are in America today experiencing God's loving judgment. In conclusion, I refer to the scriptures, Galatians 5:1. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. 2 Corinthians 3:17. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the second privilege of the floor? Anyone else? Seeing no one. Legislator Bankowski. And we have a motion to adjourn and a second by legislator, who's going to second it? Oh, Gustafson, thank you. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye. We're adjourned.